something special.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my podcast.
Here we are, finally.
I don't know what I'm doing right now, and it took a long ass time to get here.
To be honest with you guys, we're just low-key kind of winging it right now. It's been a few days now of Carissa and I over the phone talking about how we're going to get this thing working and how to get it off the ground, and it's not exactly easy to teach her how to use the programs and stuff over the phone. So here we are in the same room finally, and it's been a long time coming. So welcome to Carissa's podcast. I'm stoked to be here and honored to be her first guest, essentially. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
It's been a brain melt. It's been a lot, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have you here, and let's do this.
Thanks for listening, guys. I'm not trying to run the show here when I say this, but I do want to say that this podcast has been something that Carissa has been talking about doing for quite a while now. I'm stoked to just know that she has something that's her own outside of my career. I think she's going to have a lot of interesting things to talk about, stuff that you guys are going to want to listen to. And with every podcast, you kind of got to start from the bottom up, just like I did with my music stuff. And here we are. So don't judge us. Like I said, we are winging it, but this is episode 1. And yeah, let's get into it.
So bear with us. We're going to try something new, and hopefully it works. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And yeah, what should we start off with?
Well, let's talk about how I've kind of been at home doing my thing with the girls. When I say the girls, we're talking about our cats. That's what we call our girls. We have Luna and we have Bella. Luna is our all-black cat, and our Bengal is Bella. But let's talk about maybe how I've just been at home kind of doing my own thing, working on the final touches of my album, while you've been out here kind of just spending time with your family and taking a break from social media and just, yeah.
Unplugging. And yeah, COVID's been a pretty crazy thing for us, but it's been really awesome for Cole. He's been working his ass off and grinding his ass off, put out so much music, so many remixes. Gonna be a second album coming soon within a couple months.
Yeah, we don't have a definitive date yet. I don't want to come up here and talk too much about me, like I said, but she took it there, so I guess I'll take the floor. Yeah, I've been working on my new album. Definitely doing some final touches right now, getting all that stuff all finished up. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to albums and stuff like that. Carissa's always been my support system, and then obviously now that I'm with a label, there's all this other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But we both thought it was important that I do my final touches on that while she comes out here, visits family, like she said, unplugs, and just kind of enjoys the serenity out here. And it's been good for the both of us. But now we're back in the same room after 2 long weeks, and we hit record, and here we are. So yeah,
trying a new adventure together. Like Cole mentioned, I've been trying to do this on my own for the last 2 weeks, and it didn't go too well because technical difficulties are a frickin' bitch, but he helped me out, and we're doing it in person.
I tried. I definitely had in mind that you'd have this working and going without me here a while ago, but yeah, there's, like I said, when it comes to technology, I always make the joke that I'm the guy that makes the words rhyme. So, I mean, yes, I do record myself at home, and yes, I know how to record myself, but it was funny because I got Carissa this thing online, and it was called like the podcast, like it just said podcast on it. It was a box with all these things that you need to podcast, but it's a lot different than the setup I have at home. So we've been on FaceTime every other day trying to get everything working, and it's been yeah, like she said, there's no better term for it than a brain melt. But yeah, so it got to a point where I literally had to call my engineer, Nato. Shout out Nato.
Shout out Nato.
On my mixing and mastering, and we had to get him on FaceTime, and then one day she had it kind of working, but then some family stuff came up she had to take care of, so she couldn't really record right then and there. Then the next day she went to plug it back in and it wouldn't work, and then I'm not trying to put you on blast, babe, but there was one day where she realized there was a cord that just was supposed to be plugged in that wasn't plugged in whatsoever.
Shit.
And it is what it is, but yeah, we're here now, like I said, so.
Yeah, we're both not very techie people, but we figured it out, and we're happy to be here.
I'm not going to lie, even me being here, when I first started plugging all this stuff in, I realized I forgot like an essential cord to my setup, so I was sweating a bit. And I was like, oh man, like don't tell me I'm going to come all the way out here and it's still not going to fucking work. But luckily there was a cord that went with her setup that I managed to plug in that worked great with my mic. So here we are. I was thinking maybe another thing that we could dive into next, if you're willing to, is maybe you could talk just about how well I've been gone. You did your reading. If you want to talk anything about that, maybe.
Oh yeah, so I'm really into the spiritual world. I'm really into that kind of beliefs and faith and all that. So I had a reading done while I was here, and it's kind of nice just stepping out of, you know, mine and Cole's energy and home energy, coming into a more family energy where I could really open up all doors and let Kristen in, who is my medium. And it was,
shout out Kristen.
Yeah, and it was really good. It was my first reading with her. I've had quite a few readings actually. And the cool thing about them is there's a lot of similarities in a lot of readings that I've had about what I may be doing in the future, what Cole will be doing in the future with his success and everything. And yeah, it's just a really cool form of therapy that I really encourage and believe in if you believe in that kind of stuff. You know, there's all different types of religion and faith and everything like that. And I'm a very big
spiritual person too.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like I just want to say to anybody listening to this that's like, okay, yeah, whatever, they're just trying to take your money and talk to you for an hour and pretend they know everything about you. I was one of those people that kind of felt that way. So I do want to say, being from an outsider's perspective looking in, I didn't necessarily believe in those things back in the day. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until my family was getting readings done all the time that I kind of went and got one done just to shut them up as a kid. And they actually, the medium that I saw, shout out Linda Rose, told me some things and said, hey, something very tragic is going to happen in the next like little while here, and it's going to be life changing.
Like the week before?
Yeah, it was like a week before. Mm-hmm. And when it does happen, don't get too scared. Like, it's going to be okay, because she knows I'm a very anxious person. But she just did give me kind of a heads up and told me it would be life changing and eventually become a positive thing, which was my stabbing. So I know that sounds super nonchalant for me to just say my stabbing like that, but at the same time, like, I just want to say that for anybody listening, like I said, I don't mean to cut Carissa off, but for anybody listening that doesn't necessarily believe in spiritual readings and stuff like that, I was kind of a non-believer myself, and then time and time again I was proven wrong, and now it's something that I really truly do believe in. So yeah, just don't judge a book by its cover when we talk about this kind of stuff. But yeah,
and if you believe it, you believe it. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. Like, I'd never judge anyone on if they thought I was full of crap or thought a medium was full of crap, or some people call it foo-foo, but it's definitely what I believe in. And I've just had quite a few amazing experiences that, you know, they've just said things to me that nobody would have known except for maybe Cole or my family, people who are close to me, and that's pretty nuts. And even some things they've said to me, nobody in my life would know but me. It's been things that I've thought about doing in the future or eventually, and yeah, so it's pretty crazy, pretty amazing. And one thing I did want to bring up to her was the podcast and so when you get a reading done, some mediums, they talk to your angels, they see color, they just connect in different ways. And so my angels were telling her that this would be an incredible thing for me and could open up a lot of doors for me. So like I said, here we are, and I'm trying it. And if you guys are interested, awesome. We'll keep doing this. I'm going to kind of have different episodes, little segments kind of thing. It's not always just going to be me bullshitting about random things. I'm going to try and stick to some main topics on each segment I do for when it's just me by myself. And then when I start having more guests, obviously Cole included, just talk about bullshit and whatever kind of thing. But yeah, so that gave me a lot of motivation and confidence to do this, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. So probably be talking a lot about spirituality and on some episodes or segments. And again, if you believe in it, you do. If you don't, you don't. And maybe that episode you just won't listen to, and that's cool too.
And also, don't be shy too to anybody listening to give Carissa any kind of suggestions. At the end of the day, like I said, this is just something she's trying to get off the ground. It's something new to her, something new to us, and it's new to the fans as well. So if there's anything specifically that you want to hear her talk about, don't be shy to let her know, because yeah, we're definitely open-minded when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I want you guys just to get to know more about Carissa as a person outside of Mercules' girlfriend, because at the end of the day, she's, like I said, she's been a huge support system for me from day one, and she literally is my rock and my person. But at the same time, I just feel like there's a lot of stuff that you guys could learn from her. I want you guys to get to know her better and just understand her outside of my career. And I think it's very important in a relationship that both people have something that they consider their own, that they can stand on, that keeps their independence whilst being in a relationship. And I think this is a perfect way for her to kind of start doing her thing and connect with the fans, because a lot of you guys follow her, and a lot of you guys I see commenting, liking her photos all this time. She does Q&As here and there, and it seems like you guys got a lot of questions for her. So I think this is a perfect way for us to continue that, for her to be able to answer the questions that you guys have. And just starting with something small and building on it, and eventually this could be exactly what we want it to be. And there's no doubt in my mind that we can make that happen. So
100%. And to me, it's a lot about like connecting, and I don't know, I've been on a different kind of venture the last couple years in my life since I've been unemployed, and kind of doing things with Cole and doing everything I can to make sure he's good on the road, and you know, his mental health is good and everything. This is a crazy lifestyle we live. So it's been a blessing to be able to do this with him, beside him, and take part and be a big part of it all. But there's been a few days where I've been thinking about, well, what could I do? You know, what are some things that I could do to, whether it's branch off of what him and I have created / what he's created, or creating my own thing. And so Cole and I've talked about it quite a bit, and I'm a talker, so why not make a podcast?
And she's definitely a talker, but at the same time, like, I don't want to put her on blast by saying this, but she can be very shy and nervous. So for me, this is like a proud moment for me, just to like sit back and watch her do her thing. You know what I mean? And like I said, this is just a really, really cool thing for both of us. Cool thing for me to watch. And it's funny because when she used the term unemployed, it's like people hear the word unemployed and it sounds like it's a negative thing, but she's never really been unemployed, because at the same time she's on tour with me, constantly making sure that me as Cole outside of Mercules is in the right headspace that I need to be in, constantly making sure that I'm making the right decisions for myself and for my career. So even though she uses the term like unemployed, I was actually the one that told her, like, at the time when she was working at the restaurant she was working at, and co-managing and also doing serving, I said to her, I was like, listen, babe, like, I love you and I know you love all the people here and I love all the people there too. It's like, but I'm going on the road, and like, this is going to be a thing where I think you should just basically leave your job and come on tour with me and just be a part of everything I'm doing. And so it's nice that years later, she has this platform to call her own. So yeah.
And it was a pretty amazing day when Cole told me, quit your job and come live this lifestyle with me, because man, I'd been working since I was 13 years old, and as much as I love being independent and doing my own thing, it's been a really nice break, just like focusing on us and doing things for us and myself. And yeah, work is boring. For sure. Work sucks. We can make our own schedule, so why not do that instead of me having to go around somebody else's schedule and try and fit Cole in there and fit this crazy lifestyle in. But anyways,
I feel like working there was a big part of your journey just as a person too, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
Like, it definitely taught you a lot of life skills. There's a lot of life skills that you learned at that job that I am still learning today when it comes to business. And like, I don't think a lot of people realize, and not to make it about me again, but I don't think a lot of people realize that when you and I first met, and you were working at said restaurant, you were like so independent already, and I kind of came into your world. It was more me coming into your world than you coming into mine. I was just kind of like a rapper with a dream, and at that point in time I didn't have the quote unquote, I hate the term, but clout or fan base that I have now. So like at that, or the success in general. But it's funny because like at that point in time, like, you were making more money than me, coming home and like counting your tips that you made and like collecting your check every Friday or what have you, or whenever it was. I can't really remember, but my point is like, when you and I first started dating, you were more independent and successful on your own than I was. I was kind of like just like the hungry, starving artist sleeping on the couch, to be real. You know what I mean? So it was funny because I remember I would like sell features online, or I would like do all these little things just so I could take you out for supper. And it was like, I was like, damn, this girl's making more money than me. You know what I mean? So for you and I to go through this journey together, both watch my career blossom and become as successful as it has, I don't consider it just my career anymore. Like, I really feel like this roller coaster that we've been on is something that we consider the both of ours. I know sometimes you don't like to think like that because you're proud of me and you're stoked on all the things that I've done to get myself here. Yes. But at the same time, I just consider you a huge like part of that and a huge percentage of that. And I just want people to understand that. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I appreciate it because I'm here. I'm always here.
I know, 100%. You always have been.
Do whatever I can. It's a crazy life, like we were saying, but maybe we should jump into our COVID experience, how we started off
Yeah.
COVID, it was a pretty crazy time. That's one thing I want to make like one segment about on this podcast, whether it be with Cole or just on my own, talking about tour, telling you guys some crazy tour stories, whether it's just from my side of things or mine and Cole's side of things.
Yeah.
Just because I know you guys would be interested in hearing that. So, if there's anything you guys want to hear specifically or just have any questions about our tour life, like comment, let us know, and we'll get that on a episode. But going back to the beginning of COVID, we were in Europe.
Yeah, it was quite the experience.
It was scary. Probably the scariest 2 weeks of my life and Cole's life.
Yeah.
And we thought we might be stuck there, but we came home. We got home, but Cole got sick.
Yeah, so to break it down in a nutshell, and Chris always uses this term in Reader's Digest. Like we could do a deep dive into it, which I'm sure we will. But what happened so we had this European tour planned for a while, and it was like one of those things that we knew was coming. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the coronavirus, it wasn't really COVID yet. It was more the coronavirus, and it was just all this talks about this virus that's just starting to float around, and it wasn't like a worldwide pandemic quite yet. But we knew we had this tour coming up. The rumors about this virus weren't so strong that we felt like we shouldn't necessarily do this tour. We still had plans.
We shouldn't have.
But at the same time, like it wasn't like that much of a concern when we booked the initial tours. What I'm saying.
Exactly.
So and then so what ended up happening is I had our tour team with us. There's too many to name, but there was a few of us that went out there. Some of them for the first time. We got out there. I was stoked because some of the guys that were on the road with us had never been to Europe before, whereas me and Carissa have been to Europe many times on tour. Also back in the day where it was just her and I just thugging it out on the road. But yeah, so I was stoked because I had some friends with me that had never been there before, whether that was my tour manager, my opening acts, security, DJ, etc. And so we got out there. It was a long flight. We ended up deciding when we first got there that we were going to thug it out and just stay up until we absolutely were so mentally and physically exhausted that we had to sleep. So we went out, had some drinks, hit some cafes and stuff like that.
We were in Amsterdam.
Yeah, sorry. I should make that clear.
That's fine.
But yeah, we were in Amsterdam, and then by the very, very end of the night, by the way, Carissa drank 10 shots of tequila that night. Carissa does not drink. She smokes a lot of chronic, but she doesn't drink, and it was a very proud moment for me because everybody knows I'm a drinker. But
I was very jet-lagged. I needed something to keep me going.
For sure. But anyway, I just remember I was extremely intoxicated, and my ankle started to hurt, and it was like itchy almost. And I'm like, this is the weirdest fucking thing. And at this point, it was like 3:30 in the morning. And so I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was like just this one area. And it felt like almost like I had sprained it, but the itchy part was confusing to me. Anyway, it was just weird, and I decided to sleep on it, and we'd kind of just see where it was at in the morning. We ended up taking a marker and drawing a circle around the area that was in pain. And it was like red and swollen and stuff. And then we woke up the next day, and that had completely blown up, and it was a much bigger swollen area. And
he couldn't put any weight on it. He couldn't walk on it at all. He couldn't even limp on it.
I couldn't even hang my foot off the edge of the bed
for like 2 seconds.
Because as you guys know,
screaming.
Yeah, and if you hang your leg off something, like all your blood from your body goes rushing to that area, right? And it was like literally, the most just the kind of pain that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And at this point, like I said, we didn't know what was going on. Shout out Willie. He's our security. He's like the best human ever. He was in there with me icing it. And like I said, at this point, we still hadn't determined what quite it was. But he was in there icing it, making sure it was tensor bandaged up. We didn't know at the time that maybe wouldn't have been the best procedure. But he was just doing everything that he could to make sure that I was okay and trying to help. And it was like how long? Probably 2.5 days before we decided, okay, this is insane and we need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 days. And then
because at this point, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Cole's mom, we were on the phone with her because he couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep. He was just like, every time he'd take a bite of anything, he would puke. I had a puke bag right there ready at the side of the bed every time he'd try and eat something, because I kept being like, well, babe, you gotta eat something. Like, this is too long without food. Like, first we're thinking maybe he twisted his ankle while we were all twisted and out walking around, and did maybe one of us not notice or something, because Cole's done that before. He's sprained his ankle quite a few times, so we were kind of thinking maybe it was that, or plus with him not eating and being so sick, we thought mixed with a hangover, because like he said, we were we just flew in, just landed, we've been up for like 24 hours, then hit the streets of Amsterdam or drinking in the heat, and yeah, so I thought, well, maybe this is just like the world's worst hangover with a sprained ankle. And then his mom was like, have you checked his temperature? Because we did that. Because of COVID, we brought all the things. I'm kind of a germaphobe, have a bit of OCD. So we had all the masks, all the gloves, Lysol wipes, medicine, thermometer, blah, 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 all the stuff. So I checked his temperature and he was at 104. And I'm like, shit.
Anything over 100 is reason for concern, but 104 is insane.
Yeah, and so it was time to call an ambulance.
And and let me also include the fact that I have to throw a huge shout out to my cousin Lauren. She works in the medical field, and she had my back the entire time.
Yeah.
I was having these very vivid nightmares when I could fall asleep, and it was insane. And I couldn't, like she said, I couldn't keep food down. And back to her saying that she's a germaphobe. Shout out to Carissa for sitting there with a puke bag while I puke in it, because, I mean, anybody that's a germaphobe hates puke. And the fact that she thugged that out for me was awesome. But yeah, so Lauren, like I said, I was just sending her my symptoms over and over again. And eventually, once we took my temperature and it was that high, that was when we were really like, okay, this is by far urgent. And that was when we called the ambulance. I'm going to let you explain the ambulance story, because you were the one that actually had to go down to the hotel lobby and figure that out for me. So let's just deep dive into how insane that was.
So because we were in Amsterdam, Willie and I decided that there's no point in calling the hospital because we can't speak Dutch. I know in Amsterdam they do speak English pretty clearly, but I didn't know what that process is going to be like. So I said, well, why don't we get the front desk to call an ambulance for us? So also take in mind that Willie and I have been going to the kitchen of the hotel these last 2 days, getting ice, bags of ice, up and down. And I'm telling the people that work there, yeah, my husband hurt himself and he can't put any weight on his ankle, think he twisted it, blah, blah, blah. So when I go down there and we tell the lady, like, he's not doing well, we need an ambulance, she pretty much told us that Amsterdam has these very, very strange laws that an ambulance will not come to you unless it is literally a life or death situation. So let's say you had a broken arm or whatever, anything that wasn't like a heart attack or something that they knew you were going to die.
Unless your bone was like poking out your skin.
Exactly. They won't come and get you. So Willie did a very great job with talking with this lady and telling her, no, this needs to happen. So we got her to come up to the room and see that Cole could not even put it over the bed for more than 2 seconds. And she said, okay. So she called the hospital for us. So thankfully, we had a hospital literally 10 minutes away from our hotel.
That would be on foot too. Like
on foot, yeah.
Walk, yeah.
Yes. And so the ambulance was there right away. Came up, grabbed him, started putting him, asking us questions, obviously, noticed the circle we drew around it, kind of were like, well, why didn't you guys keep a better look on this? We explained we didn't really know if that was the issue or if it was a sprain. We were very confused. Anyways, they got him on some very light pain meds because they offered...
Let me just say, getting me out of the bed onto the stretcher was a movie in itself because I'm a bigger guy.
Yeah.
And obviously...
They did great.
They killed it. And honestly, like, I was super, super surprised by the healthcare system out there. Not to say that I was, like, judging them out the gate, but I just couldn't believe how well they did take care of us. But yeah, to Carissa's point, they put me in the ambulance. They gave me some light pain meds. They did try to give me fentanyl. And I do want to say this. I've lost a lot of friends to fentanyl. Obviously, hospitals use fentanyl prominently to help people with pain, and they give them the right doses of it. I just know that I have a very addictive personality, and I didn't want to put myself in a position where they would give me some sort of drug that I would be like, oh, wow, this feels really good, and I'd like it, because I just know that about myself. But yeah, they gave me some light pain meds, got me to the hospital, and they started pumping me full of liquids, and yeah, you can continue.
Doing x-rays, doing testing. So they got him right into x-rays, blood work, everything, and they figured out that it was a skin infection right away. And not only was it a skin infection called cellulitis, but it had gone septic. So that means it went into Cole's bloodstream, which can be a life-threatening situation. Fatal. You can lose limbs. It's just a very scary thing. So thankfully, we caught it in time. I'm saying that very lightly because we should have went sooner, but we did catch it, and Cole is healthy and better and did not lose a frickin' leg, thank God.
But I also have to salute Carissa because I was laid up in the hospital for about a week's time, and they're telling us it's septic. They stuck like a little spoon into the wound. They cut it open, stuck a spoon in, took it in for testing. That's when we initially found out that it became septic, and when that happened, it was very crazy. And obviously me being an anxious person, Chris is an anxious person as well. But of course I'm like hitting up Dr. Google, Googling all these things, figuring out that it's fatal. I'm freaking out. But the fact that Carissa was able to hold her composure the entire time, she even told me that she'd go back to the hotel and think, oh my God, is he going to lose a foot or is he going to lose a leg?
I cried a lot.
So for her to be able to hold her composure throughout all that, it takes a certain kind of woman to be able to do that. And I salute her so much for that. So they had me laid up there for about a week. I'm just going to be honest because I feel like a big thing that when it comes to podcasts and stuff, something I respect and appreciate is when people are really honest. It got to a point where not only were they pumping me full of pain meds, but I was actually on a drinking bender at the time. And it got to a point where I just had to be honest with the doctors. And I said, listen, I have a problem with alcohol. Like I drink a lot. And I don't want this to be a situation where I freak out because I'm 72 hours, 3 days in without alcohol and my body starts reacting a certain way. So they actually had to give me B12 vitamin injections too, just to make sure that my body wasn't going to act a certain way because I'd gone without alcohol for so long. And that's something obviously that I'm willing to talk about more in other episodes, but I just want to be honest with you guys about the fact that there was also other reasons to worry outside of the fact that I was in the hospital with cellulitis in my leg. And when I was younger, I actually got a thing called osteomyelitis, which was a bone infection in my hip. They figured it was from like a dirty Band-Aid in a pool. We still don't really know exactly how it happened, but it just kind of gave me like flashbacks, almost a PTSD kind of vibe as to when that happened when I was a kid. And that was a life-threatening thing too, where my white and red blood cells weren't evening up. And I was in the hospital for actually a couple weeks for that when I was younger. So now anything that has itis in it, automatically I'm freaking the fuck out. But Carissa was there on point, coming there every day with Tyler Cater. He's my DJ Cater, and Willie, like I said, got love for both of them. Shout out to the whole tour crew that was there. But it was crazy. So with all that being said, we were there for about a week. Like I said, the healthcare system there was a lot better than I expected. They were checking on me all the time. And then as this is happening, mind you, we're sitting in this hospital and we're hearing more and more and more about this coronavirus COVID scare. And meanwhile, we're in a hospital, which I don't want to say it, but I'll say it is one of the last fucking places you want to be when it comes to a virus going around. Because if you got the virus, where are you going? To the hospital. So we spoke to them. They said that they only had one actual case in that hospital at the time, I believe. And anyway,
it was before we got there, so that was good.
Yeah, I think they'd come and gone by the time we were there.
Once Cole got out of the hospital 10 days later, we finally got to get him back to the hotel and just do some bed rest there for a few days. Obviously, tour was canceled. I made that executive decision probably 24 hours after Cole was admitted to the hospital.
Carissa's motherly instincts kicked in, and she said, I don't care what anybody thinks or has to say, this tour is canceled. And I mean, even without her making that executive decision, that was going to happen. But I really appreciated it, being the patient in the hospital thinking, oh my God, people are relying on me. I got to do these shows, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know me, like anybody that knows me knows that I'll put it all on the line if that means that I can still get on stage and please my fans. And this is really the first time that I've ever had to cancel a show, never mind an entire tour. So I was nervous about how that was going to come off, but everybody was super understandable, and that meant the fucking world to me. So.
And he was sitting there after 4 or 5 days in the hospital. Yeah, I'm feeling better. Yeah, I could do it.
I'll perform in a wheelchair.
Yeah, just get me a wheelchair. And I said, no, the next fucking plane we're taking home, or the next plane we take is we're going home.
Yeah,
we're 100%. Not fucking staying here. Like, not happening. Pardon my French, but you guys are going to have to get used to it. I'm a trucker mouth, so it is what it is. Unless I'm not allowed to swear on podcasts. We'll see what happens.
Of course you're allowed to swear on podcasts. Fuck that. But I think a big surreal moment for us too is when they told us we could leave, and Carissa, mind you, is doing all this behind the scenes paperwork stuff, getting everything figured out for my health insurance, running around like a chicken with her head cut off, just trying to make sure that everything is on paper and filed for when we go home, on conversations constantly with my mom, paying the hospital bed bill every single day, just credit card, take what you need, make sure he's okay. And I think that a surreal moment for us was when we got back to the hotel, because they told us to rest up for a few days. They gave me a little bit of pain medication and said, rest up for a few days and then you can book your flight home back to Canada. But I think a surreal moment for us is when we're a few days in now at this point at the hotel, excuse me, I had to burp, I apologize. And we're just watching like the news via YouTube and Google or whatever, and we heard Justin Trudeau say, "Hello, if you're a resident from Canada, I just want to make it clear that right now is the time to come home." Yeah. And it was in that exact tone, and I always remember the way that he said it because it was so surreal for us. And we're thinking like, okay, my immune system off rip is just completely shot because all my everything, every power in my body is trying to fix this thing in my foot right now. You know what I mean? So obviously that made me super, super susceptible to, like, if I caught it, I'd be in a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? So we had to make sure that I would be able to travel home and take every precaution to make sure that I'm safe. Carissa's pushing me around when we finally do get to the hospital in a wheelchair. As you know, she's a smaller girl. I'm a bigger dude. She's literally just like pushing me around in this wheelchair. We're trying to find food because we hadn't eaten forever. There's no food anywhere. We get to the... Anyway, it was a lot. But my point is Carissa was like literally sweating bullets to the point where she almost fainted on multiple occasions because we were just trying to catch these flights.
In the airport. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I'll never forget that moment that Trudeau stopped and looked at the camera and said, "All Canadians abroad, it's time to come home." I was like,
it was a
fuck,
big moment.
this is like a movie. And we are those Canadians that he's calling home. Like
he might as well just called us personally and told us that.
Yeah, like it was nuts. So anyways, we got home safe, which was great. It was a travel day from hell.
Worst travel day.
Complete hell.
I mean, next to our Serbia story, which we can get to another time, I think those were our top two worst travel days. Yeah,
Serbia and coming home from Amsterdam.
We'll save Serbia for another episode.
Yeah, we will. But yeah, like Cole said, I was pushing him across airports in a wheelchair because I don't know if you guys know, but wheelchairs at airports are made for people to be pushed in, not for them to push themselves. So we get to the border and they're asking us if we have any symptoms, and here I am, I can't breathe. I have like sweat.
And as you know, one of the main things with COVID is not being able to breathe.
Exactly. And I look at them like, no, I promise. And they look at Cole, they look at me, they figure out the situation. They're like, yeah, go ahead. You're fine. So it was nuts, but we did it and we made it home, and I've never cried so much in my life, like for being so happy.
Yeah, I think I don't mean to put you on blast, Michelle. I know you're going to be one of the first people to hear this, but I think another surreal moment for us was when we finally did touch down in Canada and we called our families, and Michelle first, who's Carissa's mom, just instantly started crying and was like, thank God they're on Canadian soil. Another situation where you kind of had to keep your composure for your loved ones. You know what I mean? And didn't want to show that you were worried or show that you were nervous or freaking out. Because if one person freaks out, everybody freaks out. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So huge shout out to Michelle for keeping her composure that entire time. But that was another surreal moment for me too. Calling my mom, the same thing happening.
Yeah. And all of our family just like, being here in Canada, us being in Europe, and just trying to be positive and keep on that strong face for us, because as soon as Cole got out of the hospital, it was like a day later, the school shut down. Yeah. And it was like, this is worldwide, and everyone's like, whoa, what the hell?
And Amsterdam quickly went from one of the busiest cities in Europe to a ghost town.
Dead. And it was like, it was so crazy. It was so surreal and so nuts. Nerve-wracking, and just felt like not like real life. Like, is this for real? But yeah, we got home safe and sound, and then we did our obvious mandatory quarantine for the 2 weeks.
I don't mean to cut you off, but there was so much more that goes on when it came to our actual traveling, like that we're not even going to get into. Like I said, I'm still giving you the Reader's Digest, or we're still giving you the Reader's Digest version. Trying to at least, but there was like the hell that we went through in order to try to keep my leg propped up on the plane, and then every other place we went, I'd have to lay down flat and prop my leg up with pillows. Carissa stealing pillows from other seats on the plane to keep my leg propped up. There was a lot. So it wasn't just like quick flight home. I know she said it was one of our worst travel days, but let us just tell you why.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it was nuts. It was crazy, but being home was incredible and
I kissed the floor.
Yeah, me too.
I got inside, I laid down on the ground, I leaned off the bed, and I literally kissed the floor.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then we did our 14-day mandatory quarantine and continued quarantine because, like we mentioned earlier, I am a germaphobe, and I was not about to go out in that real world or let Cole go out in that real world. His body was still recovering from being on all the antibiotics, on all the medicine. He had to get stronger and healthier, and yeah, so we stayed home for a hot 3 months.
Yeah, at least. And it also, when I got home, I ran out of the medication that they had given me in Amsterdam, and I actually had to call our family doctor at home and get him to give me even stronger antibiotics to power through it too. He was actually shocked that they didn't give me more, but the stuff I got when I got home definitely was more powerful, stronger, and better for me and helped me heal up. But I think it probably took, 3 weeks tops before I was really on my feet walking, like everything was good again.
Yeah, 100%. So I was Cole, wherever he'd be posted up, I just pretty much served him.
Yeah. and then I got so used to it that by the time I was able to walk again, I would find myself or catch myself being like, babe, can you bring me this? Or babe, bring me that? And she's, no, motherfucker, you can walk now. You know what I mean? But,
can you bring me this?
Yeah, exactly. It should be the other way around. Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
But no, shout out to her, like I said, for just literally serving me on hand and foot every day. Just making sure that I was well taken care of. Like I said, I can't thank her enough for that. It was just really crazy. And then coming home after all that and our families being so worried and us not being able to physically see our families was a really hard thing for us too.
Oh my gosh, so hard. Didn't get to hug Cole's mom or dad. Didn't get to, hug my own parents, but Cole's parents are closer to us where we live. And so Brenda came over and we opened up all the windows and talked to her through the windows and cried. And it was crazy, but we got to do that.
Yeah, we don't want to overdo it with the quarantine talk because we know that you guys also were quarantined and it's been just kind of a thing that everybody's been talking about for so long. But like I said, just a really crazy time, like Carissa said as well. And stoked that we're back in a position now where we can see our families with social distancing, obviously, and in smaller crowds. But we tried to definitely take advantage of it when we were stuck at home. I put out at least 16 different songs, a few remixes and stuff like that. Carissa got lots done at home because, as you guys know, we're in a new place and stuff like that. But and now here we are, still in a sense quarantined, I guess you could say. Not as strictly as we were before, definitely being careful and being wary. We are those people that take this kind of stuff seriously. And now here we are on Carissa's podcast, episode 1 for the first time. So
woohoo! Trying a new adventure.
100%.
But yeah, so
I think maybe from here we'll just say that this is episode 1.
Yeah, this is it. See how it goes.
Got to do some talking and deep dive into some stuff. Obviously, we hope that you guys are as interested in this as we are, which I'm sure you guys will be. But Carissa and I are both anxious people, like I said, so we get nervous, what are people going to think? And what's everybody going to have to say about the podcast and stuff like that? So
is my voice annoying?
Your voice is the farthest thing from annoying. Also, she hates her laugh. She has the best fucking laugh in the game. And she has a few different versions of her laugh, but I love all of them. And I'm not just saying that to be the cute boyfriend. Everybody that I know that knows her says the same thing. So just definitely make sure you let her know in the comments how fucking cute her laugh is. But anyway, so like we said, this is new for us. It's new for you guys. Definitely don't be shy. Let us know in the comments what you think, what you want to hear more from us. We'll literally talk about anything that you guys want us to talk about. We'll always be honest. We'll always give you our honest opinion on things. And we also want to make you laugh in the process. So that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. And since this is your podcast, I'm going to let you close it out with whatever you'd like to say, my love.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And like Cole said, just comment, let us know, message us, let us know what you want to hear us talk about together, what you want to hear me talk about on my own. I'm going to be having many friends, other people in my life on here. So just keep us updated on how you guys feel and what you guys think about this. And let's make this a fun thing. I want to teach and laugh and learn, and I want you guys to teach me things. So, yeah.
We out, bitches.
Oh.